Welcome to the Tournament Poker Edge podcast, brought to you by TournamentPokerEdge.com, the only podcast dedicated exclusively to tournament poker strategy. And now, here are your hosts, Ron Fezbuddy and Killingbird. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tournament Poker Edge podcast. Killingbird here, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Ron Fezbuddy. How are you?
Good, bro. How are you?
Doing great. Looking forward to tonight's show. I think it's going to be a fun one.
Absolutely. It's not every show that we have a WSOP main event final table list, right?
Yeah, I think it should be fun, and I think I've only talked to him a little bit, just sort of in the preparation for having him be a rep TP in the final table, so don't consider him somebody that I know very well yet, but in a little bit of interaction, he just seems like a really cool guy and a fun guy to talk to.
So for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Rob Salaburu, if you didn't see the main event, he was repping TPE, wore a TPE patch. We sponsored him, and as Derek was saying, the guy definitely had a reputation, right? He got some negative feedback too from some people, in regards to his behavior, which I think was a little unwarranted. But he's just a really cool guy. I mean, from my conversations with him too, and really smart poker player, really interesting guy. Thinks at another level as well. So it should be a good conversation with Rob today.
Yeah, I think the best way to describe him is polarizing. Like, there are people who loved him, and there were definitely some people who did not love him. But I don't know. I mean, he seemed like he was having the most fun of anybody. So there's something to be said for that. It is supposed to be a fun game after all.
Absolutely. So it's good. I'm glad. Good to talk to him today. It'll be good to talk to him in a bit.
Yeah, looking forward to having him on. And before we get into that, I know you got some poker to play pretty soon, right?
Yeah, I'm going to the Borgata, and we're recording here on Monday, and I'm going to play one tournament in their fall series on Wednesday, and then I'm going back for the WSOPC, the circuit event in Harrah's in December, and most likely going to pay that main event. I'm just playing really well right now. I'm feeling really good about poker, and I'm making really good decisions, and I'm also running well.
Yeah, that always helps.
Which, it's still a month away, so who knows what things are going to be like in a month from now. But yeah, I'm going to go play that, so I'm looking forward to it. I got some live play coming up.
Those are two pretty good tournaments to play, too, because the Borgata, I mean, we've talked about this several times recently, but they run such a great series. Yeah. And then, of course, that WSOPC main event is just going to be a great structure with, I'm sure, a huge prize pool.
Yep. I think they had over $1 million or $1.5 million or something last year. I know it was a big prize pool. It attracts a lot of players. A lot of satellites in too, so it should be a balance between some good players who are there for the big prize and the good structure, as well as some satellite entries and stuff. So, and like I said, I feel like I'm playing. I think I'm playing the best poker I've ever played at this point in my life. So I'm just killing me that I don't have full tilter poker stars to play it on.
Right. You could go grind the $5 rebuy on Mock. Come on.
I do.
Yes, you do. And you won it recently, didn't you?
Yeah.
Or you finished second.
I don't know. I've been playing a lot, so if either won or there's like 200 runners, right, in a lot of these tournaments. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure I've won or final tabled or top 3 to every one of the nightly tournaments I play. It's just there's so few. There's so if you're going to make a final table 1 out of every 20 times, and you're playing almost every day for a month,
right?
You're going to be final table a lot of them. It's just how you finish, right?
Yeah. So I'm heading up to AC for the circuit event too. Unfortunately, it's going to be the beginning of the series.
Yeah.
You're going to be out there for the end, so I'm going to miss you. But I'm going to get to hang out with Casey and T-Twist and some of the other guys and girls. I believe Jamie Cursett is going to be up there as well. So we'll get to hang out with some of the pros, and I know a bunch of members will be out and stuff.
Yeah.
So that'll be a fun hang, but of course it'd be more fun if the whole team was there.
Yeah,
but
it's killing me that I can't make that. I have just a previous commitment that I have to go to that weekend. But that's going to be, talking about juicy, that's the tournament you're playing is going to be the juiciest one. It's the first, those WSOPCs, event 1 is always like, $300, $500, huge player pool, a lot of soft spots, good structure.
Yeah, and it's 2 starting days too, so you kind of get you get a big prize pool, and B, you get a chance if you do, run into a sick cooler or lose some kind of big flip or something, you do get a chance to get back in there, and you're so plus EV that it's worth it to fire those extra bullets. So.
Right. Well, yeah. So I'm gonna miss you guys, but if any members are around during the either I think we're gonna put this out soon, right?
Yeah. This will be up probably Tuesday morning.
Okay. So if anyone downloads this and is gonna be at the Borgata on Wednesday, just hit me up. Let me know. I'll be around playing, but I'd love to meet up with members, at some point. And then anyone who's gonna be there during the main event of the WSOPC, let me know. And my TPE family won't be. I think you and Casey and Titos are going to be gone, right? Unless they run the table or they.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Certainly, if I win that first event, I might hang around for the main event. So we'll see what happens. And as always, we always tell people, follow us on Twitter, and you can. We always like to say, we're at this bar, we're at this restaurant, come hang out. We're always more than happy to hang out with people. So. Right.
Well, I think it's also worth talking about here. The biggest news of the week is, it's been a pretty busy couple of weeks since our last podcast. The final table happened. We're going to get fully into that with Rob, but Full Tilt is back online, huh?
Yeah, I know, and I think I hit you up on AIM or Skype today and said seeing screenshots of Full Tilt Poker is killing me.
Yeah,
I can't even handle it.
I know.
It looks so good.
What was your avatar?
Pilot. I had the pilot.
The pilot. That's right. I had the monkey because my kids loved when I made the monkey smile. and
That's great.
And they also loved when I folded because the monkey would show up from behind the cards.
Yeah.
And they're like, make the monkey come, make the monkey come.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And then I make them smile and get mad, just roll them on the floor.
Yeah, I never knew how much I would miss playing with the avatar as much as I do now. Yeah. I just remember you could, I think it was just F1 through 4, and you can make all the smiley faces.
Yep. Well, congrats to all our non-U.S. Friends and listeners who, finally got their balances back, got their Full Tilt back, got another site to play on. Happy for you guys. We're jealous, obviously, and we're hoping that this lame duck session of the Congress will produce a bill. We're not holding our breath, and if it doesn't happen, we'll probably have to go state by state, which will be, a while. But happy for you guys. Happy to see the poker world flourishing again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back out there,
and it's nice now. I can wear my Full Tilt T-shirt again because it's cool again.
In your eyes.
Okay, maybe it was never cool, but
cool.
Oh boy, right on. Well, let's stop rambling and get Rob in here. We'll talk a little WSOP poker. So we'll take a break, and we'll come back with Rob Salaburu on the Tournament Poker Edge podcast.
If you are looking for the best MTT training site on the planet, look no further than TournamentPokerEdge.com. Tournament Poker Edge focuses exclusively on multi-table tournaments and features some of the best live and online pros. No waiting through cash game videos looking for the occasional tournament video. Tournament Poker Edge also offers strategy articles, forums, a member chat room, and much more. So visit TournamentPokerEdge.com and start taking your game to the next level now.
Welcome back to the Tournament Poker Edge podcast. Very happy to welcome to the show now Rob Salaburu, main event final tableist. How you doing, sir?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Happy to be here.
Great.
Cool. Well, first of all, thank you very much for representing Tournament Poker Edge at the final table. That was a nice little thrill for us.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was unexpected. I'm happy to be a part of it for sure.
I'm on the East Coast, Rob, and I'm in New York, so I couldn't actually watch the final table because of the storm. We lost power,
Right.
but I still had cell service, so Derek was like texting me,
Right.
here's what's happening, here's what's happening.
That dude.
It was good to get those updates, while it was going on, but I missed
Right,
it.
it'll last longer.
Yeah, it was. I was really upset when I got the text that you busted and how you busted, with the major hands,
Yeah, for sure.
But
Yeah, the only thing that kept me sane was I was like, well, he feels worse than we do, so I can't feel too bad.
Yeah, for sure.
What was that like? I mean, obviously it's a huge build-up to the November 9, and you spend all that time waiting to play, and you kind of got off to a quick start too. I mean, I think you chipped up from like 15 or 17 million up to like 25 almost right away.
Yeah, I went to 15 to 25 basically right away. I was getting some good hands early. I mean, it felt good at the beginning. I could tell a lot of people were nervous, and I was nervous at first, but like after the first hand was dealt, like I felt pretty comfortable,
Yeah.
now,
It seemed like nobody was willing to really make any moves early or play any big pots, which I guess is kind of consistent of a lot of past final tables. So I guess to come out firing early like that is the way to go, and of course it helps to get hands.
Right, it was a combination of two things, but I mean, obviously, yeah, that was kind of my strategy going in because I just felt like you just said, people are gonna. I watched the last 10 of them, and I was just watching how. I mean, even though it doesn't matter, it's completely different players, everything about it, but the stage is the same, the feeling's the same, so you can understand how humans can react similar to the same situation over the course of time. You could see it, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I saw the guys come out hammering, and then I saw some guys just chill back, like Peter Eastgate just chilled the whole time, just waited. Right. And then there's other guys doing crazy shit, but at the time, you literally go back and you laugh. It's 4 years ago, and people were 12xing pre-flop.
Jerry Yang.
Yeah, what is this guy doing?
It works for him though.
That final table literally is a comedy show for me, him praising God and everything. It just makes me laugh every single time.
Did you actually go back and watch other final tables from the past? Did you? You watched all of them? Oh, that's cool. So, how'd you get? Did ESPN send them to you, or did you?
No, just YouTube.
Just YouTube. Okay.
Beautiful thing, yeah.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. I never thought about that. So you went back and watched how other people. Did you see any interesting styles or patterns develop or anything you wanted to model by doing that?
No, not. I didn't like I said the game's gonna be completely different with the players, but it's the same. I guess I just wanted to get a feel of the stage, you know what I mean? How it's going to affect people. And you could definitely see how it affected more people than others,
Yeah.
And even on our final table, you could definitely, Greggy came outside, after the first break, and he was yeah, I was kind of nervous at first, but after, got in that big pot right away, he feels comfortable now. You know what I mean? So you could even, anybody that was there, if you feel it, so.
What I thought was interesting, because just hearing about your background and reading up and seeing you talk on or hearing you talk on other podcasts, you've put in a ton of hours in MTTs, right? Yeah, it sounds like at one point you were playing thousands a year. You were a grinder pretty much, right?
Yeah, I mean I went from cash game grinder to 2 years of being an MTT reg,
Right. So you know all about final 2, final 3 tables, short stack. You know the whole swing and the momentum of tournaments, but this being the main event and the live stage, and not even just the final table, but playing on down the last couple of days. How? Let me see if I could phrase this question. But how different does it feel from when you're in a normal late stages of a tournament when you're in this stage? Were you able to sort of shut that out and play? Because you seem pretty much the coolest of everyone.
Yeah.
Maybe Greggy, but for the most part, he seemed pretty calm. You seem really calm and just playing tournaments like you were playing, a Sunday major or something.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, like you just said, I've been in that spot so many times, and at that point, I wasn't even looking at pay jumps the last. Right. I mean, I didn't look at pay jumps honestly until I made the final table. I was just I had one goal, and I was just getting through and making these chips do something and get me to the stage where I need to be, So at that point, I was you're after day 7, you kind of block everything out, man. You have to just you haven't done anything yet,
Right.
You feel it, it's close, it's there, but you haven't done shit until you make it. So
right,
just really try to focus and block everything else out, and I was just playing solid I would play any tournament. You know, I was taking every spot I thought I should take, and I felt like making the right moves. That's why I felt like I did the best in that tournament than any other tournament. Just when I saw a spot, I took it, and I took it relentlessly. You know, that's
awesome.
That's so huge to do, and then on a tournament at that size, it just makes it that much better because, like you said, it's the main event. People are freaking out. You know, so the people that affects really badly.
Now, was there a point in the main event where like the switch flicked? I mean, I played a couple of them, so I've been through. I made day 3 once, and I busted out on day 1 twice. So I only have one experience of not even a deep run, but just making multiple days. And I say that for me, you know, the first couple hours are a little bit nerve wracking, and then you start to get relaxed and play just poker at a certain point, and then it started to feel like, okay, we're getting close to the money, and that's as far as I've gotten. I started to feel a little bit. It was like a different type of tournament. Did it just feel like, you know, whatever for you up until a certain point, or did it feel like something interesting was happening or special was happening along the way?
After getting through day 1, because last year I didn't get through that. It was cool. You know, I just wanted to back up. Well, that's a lie. That's a lie. I got to day 2 or 3 last year, but my whole thing was just trying to bag up every day. Like my buddy before the tournament was like, Rob, don't punt this one, just bag up every day. And I was like, yeah, you know, that's all you have to do. I can't do anything fucking else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're playing a tournament, like it's a fucking marathon, you know, and you can't justify anything in that given moment just to go for it. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's certain spots where I wouldn't want to put myself in a position where like my whole stack was ever in jeopardy. You know what I mean? Like I just played really, really. I mean, it was just so deep. You can play a lot of pots, and you can play a lot of pots in position and just like pick your spots. You know, so it's a great tournament. I don't know. I just felt like after day 5, day 6, when we started getting down like 300 people, and then that's when I like tournaments, you know what I mean? Because like Sundays you just black out and you're like, okay, like you wake up and there's a tournament, like you have like 150K and there's 300 people left, and you're like, okay, let's fucking win this one.
Yeah,
you know?
right. You're after like 12 tables, and you narrow down to 2 or 3, and then all of a sudden there's a couple big stacks, and now it's
okay, let's go time, you know.
Yeah.
So you start feeling that kind of shit. Like whenever you can grasp winning a tournament after cutting through any kind of field like that, like putting yourself in the top 5, top 10% of the tournament, it's like feels really, really, really feasible. You know, I feel that way just because I played something like. I mean, I think I'm gonna win every fucking tournament I get down to 100 people. You know, it's just like how your mindset is when you play a lot of MTGs. Like you just want to. I mean, obviously you have to be realistic, but like that's what I went for. I played for the win. You know, so I didn't really give a fuck about pay jumps or anything like that. I just played, like you said, I just played tournaments. I just went for it and spot.
Right. Speaking of multi-tabling, were you playing like 8 or 10 other tables while at the final table of the main event? Because you act very, very fast, and it seemed like you had other hands to get to.
Yeah, I mean, I've just acted that way my whole life whenever I've played. I don't know. I've done the whole slow thing I've done, and I feel like whenever I go against my first decision, it's always wrong. And I just feel like think long, think wrong when I play, you know? So I guess that everybody that's ever played with me is always like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know, like, why are you so crazy? I'm just like, that's how I play, you know?
I guess the question, though, is there ever a spot where you actually need the time to think that has thrown, like, that's given away information, do you think? Has that ever happened to you, or is that not really an issue?
Yeah, probably. I mean, there's probably spots where, I could agree with that, but there's... I don't know. I mean, obviously, I also do it for other reasons because it makes like people think I'm like so crazy and whatever, but it just like throw chips around the pot. So I get like paid off by old men all the time because fucking they can't stand it. Like they start like just tournament in WPT. Like I was raising this guy and he just like started throwing the chips in the pot. Like he's like, I can throw them in the pot too. Yes, you can, sir. You can do whatever you please. You know, it's just like the fuck out of them. I don't know. I don't like it. So I've always done it ever since I was young. And
well, I think
that a fucking real smart ass at the table, like even more so. So
that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, between that and I think some of the things they captured, the conversations you have, and you got a pretty controversial label through the course of the broadcast. I mean, did you feel you were as controversial as they were painting you to be?
I mean, I make good TV, and they took all the spots. Like, every time I served them something, they went for it. Like, that was, like, spots where I'm on the rail talking to a buddy, and, like, it's not even, like, I'm supposed to be, you know what I mean? I don't even think about the mic, but they like turn up the mic and like, oh, he just called Stephen G an idiot, and like, God, I feel so bad. And sorry when I saw him, I was like, geez. But
right.
And it wasn't even I felt bad about that. It was just like I felt bad for his family, like that. I'm calling him an idiot on TV. That's like fuck, you know. But it's like, it's not like I'm going up to the guy's face like, you fucking idiot, like you're a dickhead, you know. It's not
right.
I don't know. It's just the way they know how to. I mean, it's editing. They know what they're doing, and like. What's really funny is that when I was telling Karaknai, I was like, 7-ball. And the way they made it seem was like they were chopping it back and forth to me and the girl. Like, I was like, yes.
It's almost like they needed that that Mexican TV music, that dramatic music.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I don't know. I mean, it's whatever. It is what it is, and I can't really do anything about it. I mean, everybody around me that I know, I mean, they loved it. They thought it was hilarious. So, I mean, people that didn't like it, you know, I don't really care. I mean, it is what it is, like I said.
I personally enjoyed it, but I've always liked a little bit of edge at the table, so I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
So back when you played, I assume you obviously played on Full Tilt and Stars and all those. Did you have pretty big MTT success in terms of like?
Yeah, I mean, I hit some
Sunday.
I've hit some. I mean, I'm final table pretty much. At least I don't know. I've final table a lot of the Sunday majors. I've won the $250,000. I won the second chance. I mean, I got third in the 1K. I've had some pretty good. We got third in the Sunday 500. I mean, I've had some pretty good success on there.
Nice. And do you still play now, like on any of the U.S. facing sites?
No, I don't trust any of that shit. I've lost about probably 15K and just like donking off cash on that site just because I never think I'm gonna get my money off, so I just like punt it.
So it's just like play money.
It's like real play money.
Real play money.
Yeah. And any plans now to relocate the play online, or are you just gonna kind of play the long circuit?
I went down to Cabo for scoops, set up my account and got all that stuff. All that jazz going, so it's definitely gonna go back there probably for F-tops. I just played this live bird, and like I said, it's pretty brutal. I was, top 3 in chips after day one, and then just one thing happens and you're out, and just like all the travel expenses, everything. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, is it gonna be now a mix of a lot more live stuff, or just sprinkling live?
It's so bad because I would just grind live or online tournaments and play live cash because. I feel like that's the best combination because live cash is just so soft and so many good spots, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. MTTs, they are what they are.
Yep. Yeah, they're definitely swingy cash. You could definitely, grind out a more consistent graph for sure.
You start, like, obviously, like, play into bigger games, like, you can sustain yourself a lot better, you know? I don't know. Like, you can just go in there and make what you need to make for that, that month in a couple sessions or 3-4 sessions, and just have all your living expenses marked out.
Right.
Yep.
So when you were, when you played, obviously you played this year. You said you played last year. You made day 2, day 3. Was last year your first main event, or had you?
That was my first main event.
So did you build up to the main event, or did you?
This time?
No, the first time. That when I'm just looking at it from the perspective of some of the listeners who are building a bankroll and trying to get to that point, which is a lot of the goal for a lot of
right for sure. I completely understand. No, my first 10K I played was the PCA. Mm-hmm. I was like top 100 for TLBs on Stars, and they gave a 100-person free roll. They gave out 4 seats, I think, and I ended up winning a seat. So that was like really cool. That was when I first started grinding MTTs, probably like 3 or 4 months into it. Mm-hmm. And that was a cool experience. So that was the first time I got to play one because I satellited. And the second time I was playing and I sold action for it. Mm-hmm. And so basically, actually I was staked at the time for the first one, and I think my backer sold pieces of me to people.
Oh.
So,
wow, gotcha.
Yeah, that was how it was the first time. So, first time I didn't put myself in. The second time, I ran through like 35K the month before my own roll, just shooting bullets at World Series events, trying to get rich. and it didn't work out. So don't do that. Management kind of people. Would not recommend it. And so then I was pretty much bust. I had about 5-6K. And my buddy Bobby Lane was just pushing me like, when are you coming out here? I'm like, I'm not going out there, dude. Fuck. And he's like, dude, you got to get out here. So I got a lot of good friends in the community, and just like sold action to Stevie 444 and a couple other buddies, and my rest of my piece, and was out there. I was out there on a whim, bought a one-way ticket, was ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, given the history that you just went through with your MTTs and the background and the people you know and what you know, it's like, I mean, you're clearly plus EV in every event pretty much most events at the World Series, maybe even every event. I don't know how you feel like you are in mixed games or not, but it's such a huge expense. So I mean, how does one do that without getting backed or grinding slowly? Like for you now, are you gonna go out and sort of use a big bankroll now from this win and play everything, or you just gonna swing back a little bit?
I'll still action still. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, tournament variance is huge. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, I want to capitalize on a heater, but I don't want to put myself in a position where I've put myself in the past.
Right.
Like having 50, 60, 70K, that's a lot of money, and fucking that off is stupid. Now I have a amount of money that if I fuck off, I'm gonna be really pissed off at myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It's a different ball game, and I just want to make right choices and not just go leaps and bounds over what I need to be doing just because, Yeah. At the end of the day, like, I wouldn't even be, literally grinding. Like, right now I'm in a position where I can't really quit. I have to keep playing because I don't have enough money, But if I had won or even top 3 or something, I don't know how much poker I would actually be grinding,
Right.
At the end of the day, I love poker and I love everything about it, but the 10 years I've been playing has come to, one tournament making the success of like a lifetime. That's the whole reason why I got into this. Like,
right.
I never got in this to, grind it out. I got into this like a massive, large amount of capital, and that's the reason why I continue to play tournaments, even though they are very brutal.
Right. Right. It gives you that opportunity to amass that large score and win that.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, you should have no problem getting selling pieces of big tournaments now, right?
Yeah, that's all right.
Just put it on Twitter, you'll be all set.
Yeah. It's funny because I play with cash games back in San Antonio with a bunch of old guys, a bunch of rich old dudes, and they're all funny. And I fuck with them all the time. And right before the main event, I was fucking with Poutre about putting me an older gentleman about putting me in the tournament, and he's like, "Fuck that crap shoot piece of shit." I just don't give a fuck,
Have you seen him since?
Oh yeah, I just fucking needle him all the time now. He loves it. I think he's such an idiot. It's like, God damn it.
You should hand him your payout stub.
Yeah. He's just a rich old dude. He's like, fuck. It's funny. Fun fucking with people like that.
So
and I have a lot of people too, because like literally those, like I have a huge network. You know what I mean? Like you build that up. It's like any business. At the end of the day, like if you feel like you're profitable and you feel like you can make people money and make yourself money, and you know how to market yourself, like it's like. Yeah, there's a huge network that you can, reach out to, and right. Like maybe you put out a bunch of seeds, and maybe a small percentage of them come back,
Right.
So I had a bunch of people because that night on Facebook, like Bobby got me all pumped up, and I just hammered it out. So like every one of my buddies was like selling blah blah blah, this percentage, blah blah, and then after I sold out like in whatever amount of time, I think it was that day. And those people didn't respond back, and then like now they're like, God, dude, I could have had a piece of you. It's like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, and, you can just like, but it's stupid because it's just like it's that one time. I don't know how to explain. Like, buying pieces, I feel like is so much more profitable than actually backing players. But in the same sense, it's like you could go on such a dry spell of both.
Right.
It's a weird game out there. It's a weird place to make money for sure. There's a lot of ways to do it though.
Buying pieces, I mean, if you can't expect to make money if you're buying, 2 or 3 pieces here or there. You have to have, like, the capital to spread it out.
Right, you have to shoot a bunch of bullets.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you get lucky. I remember back in the full tilt days, the double deuce, was that
right,
double deuce?
Yeah.
A friend of mine who is a great player and is now a high stakes player, but he wasn't a high stakes player at the time. He sold a package that included that, and then he final tabled it, and then he won it. And I bought, but I didn't want to buy he was selling 50%, but I didn't want to spend all that money, so I only bought 20%. Right. But it was his package was another $30, right? For the whole 50%, and I was the first person he asked. Yeah. And so for $30, I lost another $8,000 or something like that. But if over the long run though, if I had bought every single maximum, I would not make any money.
Right, exactly.
But it kills you the one time. It kills you the one time.
Yeah, it's crazy how enthralling a sweat is. You know what I mean? It really is. It gets people going for sure.
It does. It's fun. It's especially. I mean, now, being that we can't play on the, at least from the U.S., I try to buy a piece here and there if I can. Someone who's playing.
For sure. I've fucked around with it.
Yeah, just so you could open up PokerStars and watch a tournament and actually have some vested interest in it. So. Cool.
Yeah, even if it's not a substantial amount of money, it's just fun for the sweat.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said about the sweat.
Yep.
So you spent a lot of time playing with Paul Volpe. What was that like?
Yeah, he's a real good player. I mean, he was kind of at a point in his stack where he couldn't really fuck around too much,
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I think he. Did you see? I think he.
Yeah, open folded ace queen, and when I saw that, I was like, Jesus Christ, that was crazy.
Yeah. But he was early position, 15 big blind.
I was only gun +2.
Yeah. Wait, and you had you had ace king.
Yeah,
right?
ace king. Yeah. Bomb, got there.
And I think didn't people think you said he saw your card or something like that? And you were just saying that he's so good, he's like a mind reader. I remember seeing something about that, or was that? Not?
I've heard stuff about that. When I heard that, I just started laughing. It's just conspiracy theories, obviously. Yeah. A bunch of fucking weirdos.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
There's people that just play I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm not trying to fucking help anybody in any tournament. I want all the chips. And I mean, I don't think he saw shit. I think he just felt like he had 19 big blinds and he couldn't, or 18 big blinds and didn't want to raise fold and didn't want to get it in. I mean, his stack is still worth some money and he's really deep in that tournament. I mean, every page jump of that tournament at those stages is like winning a tournament. I guess he was trying to utilize his big blinds. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a rule about that. I just don't question Paul G's about MTTs. That's pretty much my rule.
I think he knows what he's doing.
He does.
Yeah, he's pretty good at poker. So. Cool. Well, maybe if you got some time, we'd love to actually talk about a couple of specific hands. If you got a minute.
Sure.
Cool. Diego, you want to take the first one from the Ace Jack hand?
Sure. Okay. So Rob, I have the hand description from Poker News, which we all know is not always 100% correct,
right.
Even though this happened live and on TV, which
I read the hand history is correct.
Okay, cool. And and like I said, I didn't actually see it live. I just went by texts from Derek. So, but from the description, I'll read that and we'll go from there. Okay, so in this hand, looks like blinds are 150, 300K. You're in early position. Were you under the gun or under gun +1?
I think maybe under gun +1.
Under gun +1. Okay. You have ace jack suited, and do you know how big your stack was at this time?
I think
roughly?
I had about maybe 17 million. I don't know if I played the kings no, I hadn't played the kings yet. I don't think.
So a little bit more than you started.
I had 16 million.
Okay. So you have ace jack suited, so you open to 610. Pretty standard open there. And it says Osmus is on the button, and Greg Merson is in the big blind, and it looks like everyone folded except for Greg in the big blind.
That's true.
Okay, so it just went to the flop, just you and Greg. And the flop was 3. So you have ace jack of spades.
Yeah.
The flop is 3 of spades, 2 of spades, 2 of clubs. And you check. Greg was first to act, and he checked, and then you checked.
Right.
So I'm just curious, right off the bat, why not bet there, take a stab? You think he's always calling? You want to keep it cheap, or just curious your thought process there of not betting that flop?
I felt like I still had the best hand, and I just kind of wanted to disguise it if I did hit the flush, and I didn't feel like Greg's range really smashed that board too much, and I didn't want to blow him off anything.
Right. Okay. So basically, I mean, what I'm hearing there is that your equity is high in this hand, and his is probably pretty low, but you're okay to give some cards here because most of the cards that complete anything actually hit you. Hit you anyway.
Yeah, and I feel like my hand reading strength is really, really good live. Like that's one of my strongest suits. So I feel like I can give a lot more free cards in a live tournament setting, especially because I have position on them too. I don't know. I just like giving a free card. Just try to let him bluff at it. Or
right.
There's a lot of turns if he leads into me, I can raise and I can rep a big hand.
Right. Yeah, you're right. I guess you can increase your equity as well from just letting him bet, and then having to let it, shut down as opposed to take what's in there. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so then the turn is now the Queen of Spades, which completes the flush. So obviously, great card for you. And he checked, and then you checked behind here. So are we thinking the same thing here? He's not calling anything.
I just feel like he has complete air right now.
Right.
You want to shouldn't check fold, and I felt like maybe he could have some small pairs in his hands, and this card obviously, would blow you off it as well. But I don't know. I feel like he's going all mid pairs right here. I could have bet here, but I feel like Merson's really, really fucking good, and there's a lot of spots where I could put a lot of chips in the spot, but he's so good that he could even blow me off a hand like this just because the value in the tournament. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I was playing Itty. We were playing 9-handed. For myself, I was obviously trying to get max value, and I didn't feel like betting right here I could get any chips off him. Right. Unless he actually had a hand that he could, get in there with me. And I feel like a lot of just dry spades that he has in his hand, maybe like even a 10 of spades, he's going to call a lot of rivers if the spade hits.
Right.
And I don't feel like if I check Merson, or if I check behind Merson 3 times, I feel like, or 2 times, he's gonna take it on the river. He's gonna take his spot.
Right. Right.
Like really, really solid play. He's not gonna just check all 3 streets. Like he didn't play this pot to just like give me chips. You know what I mean? He's gonna try to win the pot at some point.
Right. And he's never you're not gonna get 2 streets here. Like the concern is, are you missing value on a street? Even if you got value on this street, that you probably wouldn't get it on the river unless he completed.
Right.
Which, and he's more likely to bet into you, like you said. Okay, all right, that makes sense to me. Okay, so then so you check behind, and the board is the 5 of diamonds. So the board is now 3 of spades, 2 of spades, 2 of clubs, Queen of spades, 5 of diamonds. So there's not much out there other than the flush, and then a low straight. And some small cards, and he does lead out this time for 2.1.
Right.
So I'm curious. Here.
Why don't I raise him?
Yeah, I guess that's
what everybody asked me. Why don't you raise him? Why don't you raise him? Well, it's like this. I'm playing for $8.5 million.
Right.
If I raise right here and he stuffs it down my face, I can't ever fucking call unless I make a huge hero call, and then I still feel kind of crazy about it. But I know he's capable, and the other thing is too, I feel like he has complete and total air, and I'm getting no fucking value if I raise. So,
right.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like he's never ever just doing this with a hand. Like I just don't think he has a hand right here.
Yeah, that's the key. I think that's it right there. You're not going to get any more value from anything other than beat stuff that has you beat.
Right. And the other thing is, it's like he just 2.5x pot. There's how much more chips am I going to get out of him? He put so many chips in this pot. You know what I mean? When I raise him and he's just going to call, like he's not going to. Some lower flushes he calls, but.
Right.
The way I play my hand to raise the river, it looks so strong. What can he call with? It's,
right.
I don't know. It's a catch-22. Like at that point, I feel like if we're shorthanded, I'm probably gonna. There's gonna be spots where I feel like I'm gonna raise there. I felt like it was a very literally it was like 4 hands into the tournament, so that probably had a lot to do with it as well. Honestly, there's a lot going through your head besides just what's going on right there. You try to block everything out, but I have like this dude from across from me, like chopping his like hand across his neck, like you're going out. Like I'm like, what's going on over here? You know?
This is not what I signed up for.
Yeah, I don't play poker. So I mean, there's obviously a lot of factors that go into it, but yeah, honestly, those are the three main reasons. I feel like he has. Bottom line, he has nothing. Second of all, if he does have something and he crams it on me, at full. And the thing is, he is capable of doing it without anything. And then I feel like a big fucking idiot. You know what I mean? For opening that door. You know?
Right.
It's like opening Pandora's box. I mean, he's a really, really good player.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I felt like I felt like at that stage of the tournament, it was just the right play.
Yeah, and I guess that makes a lot of sense, and I think that's a crucial fact there. You know, some people think, well, I got, you know, top flush here. He likely doesn't have a boat. I should bet because I want to get as much value as I can. But they're not thinking about the fact that most of the time he's just folding anything. You know, you don't have that's behind you. But if you knew he had like King 10, right? Like, how much value could you possibly get here? I'm just
he had ace of diamonds. I mean, that's what he had.
Right. No, I'm saying if you knew he had King 10 of spades, I'm just trying to think like if we could see his cards and he had, you know, the next best flush. Like, how much could you get from him anyway?
Yeah, I mean, probably. I could probably get like maybe a min raise plus some.
Right. Exactly. So it's another.
There's a lot of chips at that point, but let's say like I said, I started with 15 or 16 million. I mean, I mean, he bet a pretty sizable amount of my stack, you know, at the time.
Right.
If I make it 4 and then I have 9 back and I have to fold with a shove, like I can't fold with a shove ever, but if I bust a tournament like in that spot because I open the door, I feel like it's a lot worse in the long run when you're playing for that much. When I feel like if I steal the blinds 2 more times, I'm gonna get 2 million chips, you know.
So let me,
right.
Yeah,
there's just spots where like I didn't want to put myself in a high variance situation where he was, you know, and he's very capable. I mean, the guy's fucking good.
And that's great insight into tournament dynamics right there. Especially, I mean, you said you played a lot of cash, but you also played a lot of tournaments, and we have, you know, a lot of people who listen to this are coming over from cash or just starting to dabble into tournaments there. So can you talk about? I mean, you talked about it a little bit, but you know, just that concept of, you know, mixing the high variance plays with, you know, extracting the most equity possible. Like how does, I know there's no formula for this and it's like a lot of feel, but you know, when you get this deep, like, you know, what's the balance that you're trying to strike between extracting the most equity possible in a hand and tournament life?
I was like really, really messing with bet sizing. Like there's one hand where I had 2 8s and like there's spots where I probably shouldn't make the bet, but I feel like if I made a weird down bet on the turn, like in a spot where like ball singer flattened me out of the big blind, I think, and it came queen 5 deuce with 3 hearts, and I have 2 8s with the 8 of hearts. He checks. I bet the same what I bet Peter Free. I bet like 700 to 1.3. He calls, turns a dud like a 5. He checks offsuit obviously, and I bet like 475. And I'm doing weird stuff like that where like I'm getting value and I'm also shutting down. Like I'm checking behind all rivers in this spot, but I don't want to call a big bet on the river. And I feel like when I do stuff like that, he's got to take the spot right then where I'm just gonna obviously. I mean, if I get blown up the hand, I get blown up the hand, but I didn't risk anything.
Right.
In the same sense, it's like he's got to fucking have it. You know what I mean? He can't just make a bold move right there just because he's out of position, and it's, I don't know. It's just like there's different things that I was doing that were really unorthodox, and people were like, "What are you doing? Like you're betting like 6 pot." I'm like, yeah, I do that. You know?
Yeah, but you're kind of you're cementing like your equity and reducing the chance that you're gonna have to.
It's just like merging, like bluff merging, and like and using it as for value too. Yeah, I don't know. It just there's a lot of things that you would do in terms that are just so unorthodox sometimes that I do just because I feel like I can extract chips and gain what I need to get done on next streets without like in one shot, you know?
Yeah.
There's definitely things that you can do like that in tournaments that are way different than cash. Like in cash, like people are just gonna like re-raise you every time and just reload, you know? It's like you're showing weakness, feigning weakness, you know, let's take the pot.
Yeah, it's almost like you're giving up a little bit of value for reducing your variance there. and that's okay in these kind of spots.
In spots where I had showdown value, and then
right.
And then there's also spots where I would take that same line where I do that, and then I have complete air, and then I'm like select potty and river just because I know if he can only call in a turn, he doesn't have a hand that he can call. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if he's not raising me in the spot, it's going to be very hard for him to call on the river.
Right.
If I make the right bet.
Right, and if he pops you back, then you know your tournament isn't at risk yet. So you can
need chips and. It's whatever. I mean, obviously, I could check behind again and just take the free card, in a spot where I have some hand with some showdown value and not get blown off it. But it goes. I feel like I do stuff when I have the hand. You know what I mean? Like it's exact opposite almost. Like when I don't have a hand that can be shown out, I'm trying to win the pot in weird sense. And then
right.
I'm trying to just. Obviously, control the pot. I just love controlling pots. I love controlling pots in tournaments. I feel like it's huge.
So I'm curious, when did you start to, do you feel like you started to think at this level? Was this something you've always thought of, when you started playing tournaments, you got that right away, or was it after a while?
I was just relentlessly aggressive when I first started playing tournaments. And I felt like anytime I had a pair, I had to get it all in.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I have to have the best hand. It's so hard to make a pair and hold them. I didn't understand the concept of there's no reason to flip in this spot because you can just gain in different spots. There's no reason to put yourself literally call off in high equity situations just because, Yeah. I felt like, I need to take every single edge. Well, that's not taking every single edge when you're just exploiting, turning over two cards over and over,
But yeah. But what's funny about that is that what you're describing there, and I agree with you totally, and I definitely, see the value of that, and I believe in it. But a lot of that is the way people who just start playing tournaments think too. They're when you make fun of a lot of the people who don't want to flip or you raised with that or you played your whole tournament to put that at risk when you hear those kind of donkish comments. But I feel like you go from playing conservative and tight like that to going aggressive in tournaments and then too much variance, and then you kind of find the right balance between the two later on.
Going from the internet to live, it's a completely different scene. It's just on the internet when you have 12 screens fired up, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm taking this, I'm taking this, I'm taking this, I'm taking this. But live, it's it's one tournament. I don't know.
Right.
It's weird. I mean, it sounds stupid, but I mean, you put yourself in so many more high variance situations online than you would live, just because they're $30 tournaments and $100 tournaments, and you just load them again.
Right.
Live, it's I don't know. It's more of an art for sure. I feel like.
Absolutely. Cool. Yeah, interesting. Cool.
But before we move on to the next hand, I had a question too about final table dynamics, and specifically with the 15-minute delay. There's all this talk about people checking in with their coaches to find out what people had and stuff like that. How much of that were you doing? I mean, did you have friends sitting in front of their laptops at home?
I just told Sylvia that I did, and I just made him tell me every time he came back over from the show.
You're like, come on, man, I know anyway. You might as well tell me.
He's like, I'm not just giving you this information. I'm like, yeah, no, dude. My friends are.
That's great. I was always wondering about that because it just seems like.
Well, I told my friends to do that, but my friends are a bunch of idiots.
Oh my God! If you can't count on them in this situation, dude, you can't count on them ever.
I lost all the tickets that I gave them to give to everybody, to get into the people. Ridiculous.
You're checking your phone for text updates of what hands people had is empty.
Yeah, I was like, Jesus, dude, I had to go get them more tickets.
Oh God. That's frustrating. You're trying to prep for the final table, and you got to worry about your friends not.
I didn't. I pass it on to my girlfriend. I was like, "Here, you handle that. I'm over this. Here, just do all this." I turned off my phone. Everybody's like, "So what's the plan?" I was like, "The plan is don't bother me. I don't care. I'm trying to win the fucking main event."
Awesome.
That's great. Speaking, one last question before we move on to this last hand. There was some sort of what's the word? High profile. Focus on some of the guys who went out and got a 6-man coaching team, and Sylvia had Selps coaching and so on and so forth. I mean, obviously you have friends who are poker players, but it doesn't sound like you went out and did 3 months of hardcore coaching. It sounds like you just kind of talked poker with your buddies while you were
right.
off.
Yeah, I did. Obviously I did some ICM stuff with some of the best sit and go players in the world, and then I did other stuff where we talked to him. But at the end of the day, it's you make like you're not gonna replay the situation ever. Like you can do it. You can run these things and you feel comfortable. Like I thought Russell Thomas was gonna punt the tournament right at the beginning because he's raising every fucking hand, thinking like, oh, I'm so comfortable. Like he was just losing chips after chips. I don't know if you saw that. I mean, he was down like 6 million, and I could tell he was visibly frustrated, you know, and that's just from being like, okay, I want to be the most comfortable in the situation. No, it's not like that. You put yourself on that stage, it's a whole different ballgame. You know what I mean? Like, that's cool. I'm glad he did that. I'm glad everybody did what they did, but everybody's different. And I feel like I felt like Russell, he even said he was like not a tournament player at all, you know?
Right.
Like, I feel like, if you're not a tournament player, you got to know what's going on. But I've been grinding MTTs for like a sizable amount of time, live and online, and I've felt very confident in a lot of spots, and I felt like talking to my buddies who are really, really good and getting, like, I worked with John Van Fleet for sure. I worked with Stevie. I worked with, you know, when I went to Mexico, I mean, I got to talk to David Emmons, Elio Fox, like all these guys that are like really, really good players. You know, they're really, really solid and they think on a different level. And just talking like different spots, like even UFC Phildo was like there, you know, and I got to like pick his brain about like feel and stuff like that, you know. So like everybody plays differently, and there isn't. Once you get to a certain level, there isn't like the right play. Like everybody can talk about it, and they can like come to a conclusion, you know. So I feel like that's what their aim was, just to like really, really feel like they were real comfortable and ready for the tournament, and I felt like I really was as well, you know, in my own right.
Yeah, right. Makes sense. Cool. All right. Well, let's jump to this other hand. And this might end up being another example of kind of what we talked about with the last hand, and sort of trying to control things and not put yourself into high variance positions. But this is the hand where you open Queen 8 of Spades. I think you were in early to mid position. You make it 495, and Osmus calls with 9-7 of Spades.
Yeah. Who's the taker which I came to find out like at that point in the tournament.
What's that?
He's a taker online. Like I didn't know that. You know, he's a super.
Oh, okay.
Like that crushes. You know, he knows what's up. At that point, it's like a grinder that knew how to play, but like I got more information on him, so I knew he knew what was up. You know, and he was playing very nitty at that point too.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like it, at least from what they broadcast.
Yeah.
Cool. So the pot at this point is a little over 1.3 million, and the flop comes 4-5, 2 spades, and then the Queen of Diamonds. So pretty much, if you're going to open the Queen 8 of Spades, this is pretty much your dream flop, right?
Yeah, flop Jim.
Yeah.
So Osmus checks, and you bet 580K, which is basically like half-ish, a little under half pot. Osmus calls. Probably not. I mean, that's I think pretty standard, pretty straightforward. So the pot's now 2.48 million. And the turn is a 7?
The turn is 7. Yeah, because it gives me a gutter ball.
Yeah, and gives him a pair to go with his.
Right, he has 7-9 of spades.
That's true. Yeah, and at this point.
But I don't know that.
Right.
I'm just kidding.
So Osmus checks, and then you bet 1.2 million. So again, about half pot.
Right.
And Osmus calls. So now at this point, the pot is 4.8 million. And then the river is some random blank.
Right.
Or no, I'm sorry, it's a queen.
Right.
It's not a random blank at all, actually.
It's the unblankest of cards.
Yeah. So it's a queen giving you trips, and Osmus checks again, and this is kind of one of the few times where you didn't, like, snap move. You kind of thought for a second, and then you almost looked like, fine.
How much in it I was.
Is that what it was? Like how my friends
I was like, am I really going to check this here? But yeah, there is just like, I had spades in my hand. It's really hard for him to have spades. I have them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And what is he going to be completing with on the flop? Like there's some 5s and 4s, sure, but obviously I didn't think my hand, where from his calling range, like I honestly, I didn't even think he was playing as loose as like the 9-7 suited. You know, I played a hand with him one hand earlier where he did show down Jack 9 of hearts, but it was like a completely different game. Like he was like in position and like, I don't know, like out of position. I felt like his calling strength was pretty strong. I mean, I felt like I could get called by 2 8s, 2 9s, but it was like 13 or 14 left, and his stack size at that point, I think he called 2 streets, and it left him with about little under $8 million, and I didn't want to bet fold into that stack, and I didn't know. I really didn't feel like confident. Like I didn't feel that confident in the hand. Honestly, I just didn't feel. At that point, it was just one of those feel things. I mean, obviously, like I can bet 100% of the time and bet, raise fold 100% of the time. You know what I mean? Like once you stick it or do something, I can get value from a lot thinner range. But I don't. At that point in the main event, I guess, like you said, it was one of the hands I actually stopped and thought about, and I just felt like, again, I was playing a good player. I knew what was going on. He knew what was going on. And
yeah, for you tanked for an eternity.
Yeah. I just felt like there's a lot of queens in his range that he's calling it too, and he's going to just check call a lot of queens too. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean,
yeah, it's kind of you make a good point that you obviously have two spades, so he doesn't have that very often. So his range for calling you on the flop and the turn is a lot of queens.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like that's what people are like. Well, yeah, he can also be calling 8s, 9s, and I'm like, yeah, for sure, he can be doing that. He can be doing anything in this game. But at the same point, like, I don't know, man. It's just certain points. Like I said, I get thin value sometimes, and I don't even go for value when I have the nuts sometimes. I don't know. I just balance it in a weird way. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's probably bad, but in the same sense, I don't care. I mean, I play my own game. I mean, there's certain spots where if I don't feel comfortable or with the player or the situation, like yeah, I might knuckle back trips, or
right.
Or,
well, particularly there where you're coming up, you're not yet quite on the final table bubble, but you're essentially staring at it.
I think 16 people left, something like that.
Yeah, and there's a lot more equity than even just what's on the pay sheet.
Well, and I think at that point
table.
too, I think what else was going on with me is that like I lost my mojo a little bit. Like I just got crippled by Sylvia, where I had all the chips, Yeah. I think I had 25 million, like when there's 20 people left, So after losing that pot, that like I had a stack of about 13 million, and I think with all the money I had in the pot, I think it was down to like a little around 10. So I obviously had the final table in mind, and I don't know. I just really wanted to preserve my stack if I was beat, and then if I wasn't, I didn't feel like I was getting too much left,
Yeah, and there's got to be a part of you at that point that's just like, okay, I've grinded my way through this many days. I can continue to grind back even though I just lost this huge pot.
Right. I just did it the day before. Like, I had to go into lockdown mode. Like, after having 12 million, I got fucked in some pots, and I lost some flips, and I got down to, like, all the way to 3, And I just play like a nit and wait for the 2 kings and, like, double. I don't know. I felt like I changed gears really well in that tournament, and I felt like I changed gears in the middle of hands really well, too. I mean, it's hard to do it all, and you can't play a tournament perfect, So obviously, there's a lot of argument for that hand where I could have got a lot more value. I just didn't go for it.
Yeah. Cool. No, that makes sense. Cool. Obviously, people would probably ask us why we didn't discuss your bust out hand, but I think it's kind of standard from your standpoint, right? I mean, calling with the 7s there. But what did you think of Sylvia's shove?
I feel like it was bad. I felt like he can raise fold so much easier. I have 20 big blinds. I have to have it. There's a stack of 5 million. Like I have to have it every fucking time.
Yeah.
Like I can't do it ICM wise, or I'm just the biggest fish there is.
Right.
But in his mind too, I mean, it's still profitable to shove.
Yeah.
Well, it's profitable, but it might not be the best play.
Right. Like that's what we're talking about. But at the end of the day, like there's always gonna be the best play in somebody else's mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've argued with people like one way or the other, and like they'll just like be like, oh, well, the math says to do it. You got to do it. The math says to do it. It's like, okay, I get that, but there's also certain points that you have to take in consideration. It's not $100 freeze out. It's a fucking main event.
Right.
I know that sounds stupid because everybody's like, hey, you got to play every tournament the same. Like you got to go and do it, but that's just not the truth. It's not. I mean, people say that and they want to believe it, and they like. It's variance and math and this, that, but it's not. It's just, bottom line, it isn't. It's like if you're playing the biggest cash game you ever played with fish, it's not going to be the same. You know what I mean? It's like you're going to make your biggest win you ever played, I don't know. Every situation is always going to be different, and to say it's wrong or right or the best play, I'm not going to say that because I don't like it, but some other people do,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
And I have to have it, like 100% of the time.
Right.
It's really hard, but like you said, like he can. I don't think it's the best play for sure, but I'm not gonna dog anybody on that play. Like, play how you play.
Yep.
That's the beauty.
It's a good attitude to have.
Yeah.
So what's next for you tournament wise? I know we were talking before we started recording. You just came back from Jacksonville. What's next on your schedule?
I mean, I really want to go do F-Tops and then PCA.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a fun vacation plus work.
That does sound fantastic, actually.
Yeah.
I'll go do that in a heartbeat right now if I could.
Like a good combo.
You're pretty interesting to follow on Twitter too. What's your you want to give your handle out?
It's at Rob Salaburu.
Just one word, any underscores or anything? Just straight up Rob
yeah.
Salaburu. Okay, cool.
Yep. So ROBSALABURU. It is enjoyable. In fact, today, I learned from Rob's Twitter that male dolphins rape other male dolphins.
That's true.
It's a little known fact, but me and Rob know it because I follow him on
Twitter.
Twitter.
Fucked up. I read that and I was like, damn, dude, those dudes are fucking hardcore. Like prison out there.
They look so sweet too.
Yeah, they're just raping each other.
So the sea is just one big prison to them.
Yeah,
basically is what it is. They're like, get me out of here.
Yeah, and the beauty of it is that they could swim away at any point, but they choose to stay and get raped.
God, this is starting to sound like a political. Someone's going to say something here that will not let them win office in 10 years.
You know who would actually be a great addition to this conversation is Dave Emmons. I bet you don't.
Yeah,
he could add incredible insight.
Yeah, I love Davey. He's my boy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's done some videos for us in the past, and he's not only an incredible poker player, but just a really cool guy.
Yeah, he's a different human for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Well, cool, Rob. I want to thank you for joining us, and once again, thank you for repping TPE at the final table. It was exciting for everybody, especially I know the members. We actually had a little sweat going in the TPE chat room with I think that night we probably cracked 50 or 60 people just sitting there watching you, so that was cool.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm glad I was able to represent you, and I obviously wish I could have gone deeper, but I hope my controversial figure helps you get some more clients for sure.
Cool.
Well, just go win PCA instead.
Yeah. That
awesome.
sounds amazing.
Cool. Thanks again, Rob.
Yes,
For
nice
sure,
talking
man.
to you, Rob.
I appreciate it. Thanks again, guys. It's nice meeting both of you.
Absolutely.
You as well. We're going to take a quick break, and then we will come back here to wrap things up on the Tournament Poker Edge podcast.
Texas, with wood grain on the steering wheel, candy coated paint, shorty, you know what it is. Texas, where them boys stay dipping and they stay sipping on that syrup. I ain't tripping, we in Texas, and my city is the tone. Yes, I represent it, you can hear it in my tone. Boy, I stay on, I'm fresher than the baby, and yeah, I'm the shit, but you can never change me. Self-made hustler, I'm going in that water. I'm colder than the mud, but call me fire starter. Yeah, I stay hot, my city still blazing, and hoes call me NBA. They say I'm so amazing. I'm married to the streets, I fuck around with the curve, trying to ball in my city like I play for the Spurs. Yeah, and I hate the Popovich. I'm a player, not a coach like Greg Popovich. Yeah, I talk a lot of shit like I swallow myself. The dude stay sick, and I ain't talking about my health. When I die, remember me like the Alamo, sitting high like a slab off a 24. In Texas, with wood grain on the steering wheel, candy coated paint, shorty, you know what it is. Texas, where them boys stay dipping and they stay sipping on that syrup. I ain't tripping, we in Texas. 281-214-97.
Welcome back to the Tournament Poker Edge podcast. Big thanks to Rob for stopping in today. I enjoyed it. I think he's a fun guy. I think he's interesting to talk to, and I think he kind of had a cool take on the whole final table experience.
Yeah, I mean, not many of us has been in his situation, obviously. If I was ever there, I would hope to view that he had like the perfect balance between understanding the stage, but also, playing poker and trying to keep his head level for poker, but understanding the value of what he was in, and the the risk and the reward of his strategy.
Right.
And I hope to have that kind of calmness and coolness if I'm ever in that position. Like he is, I think he handled it really well. And like I said, I know the guy was controversial, and he got a little bit of his his take on how they edited him, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look, if they captured the chat windows of a lot of people during tournaments, like their IMs or their Skypes, conversations about other players at their table.
Yeah, like how many? I consider you and I both pretty nice guys, but I'm sure hundreds of times we've like gone to dinner break or something. God, I got this idiot at my table.
Right.
He's like the worst player I've ever played with. I mean, that just happens. It just happened to be that Rob had a mic on every time he went to talk to his friends.
And I think he did get a lot of. Look, whatever. If you guys don't agree with me, and you don't like him for this, I think he got a lot of negative backlash, unwarranted, for rooting against Hill to bust. I mean, you're rooting to make the November 9, and if he couldn't keep that quiet. I don't really fault him for that. It's hard not to root externally to make the final, the November 9. So
yeah. I don't expect it. I don't expect anybody to listen to us and go, "Oh yeah, they're right. I like him now." I mean, but I just think different people like different styles, and I think it's one of the first times in a while where the ESPN and the World Series had somebody that they could kind of really paint as a villain.
Yeah, that made it that deep and was actually good, and wasn't like barking or something. This is real, real action and a real. And he had a lot of chips. And I think they took that opportunity and kind of ran with it by sort of showing a lot of footage of him, dancing around. They always will. But I will say that I really enjoyed the conversation with him about variance and dynamics and understanding the value of your tournament life and going for value as opposed to increasing the risk. I think those are all vital elements, and how there's no standard play. Well, I mean, sometimes there is a standard play, but a lot of times, you could argue a lot of different options, and everyone plays their own style. And some people are obviously better than others, but you really shouldn't discount some strategies. There's a lot to be learned from different people and the way they play.
Yeah, and so many things are results oriented. Obviously, I mean, everybody has talked about how great Merson has played, and I absolutely agree. But let's not forget there was a hand where he shoved all in with like Jack high or something, and
Queen Jack,
and it worked. And it was an amazing play. But if he's beat and he gets called there, then everybody's talking about how he exploded and blew up.
Right.
So obviously the way things turn out and the way the results end up affect people's perception of how certain people play.
Right.
So it's easy to go, well, he should have bet trips on the river when he had queens, but if he does that and then gets all the chips in bad against a bigger queen or something, then everybody's like, why would he ever raise there?
Right.
Why not just call or just check behind or
Well, there was also a spot where Merson, I think he put in 50 bigs with threes or something like that, on a 5-bet.
Yeah.
But he could have easily been, seeing 8s or 9s or 10s, which I guess his thinking was 8s or 9s or 10s are folding there because of the size of it. But, to your point, he's valid.
People do get aces too.
Well, I mean, the point is that as good as you are, and Merson, will come down as good as there is, you're still going to make some mistakes here and there.
Sure.
Just, I mean, if you may not call that a mistake, you may, but no one plays perfect for, so many days and doesn't have one or two spots somewhere at the minimum.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed that, and the Ace Jack hand I thought was a good conversation around, going for value as opposed to preserving your stack in certain points. It's important as a tournament player to understand.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I thought it was cool too to hear. I hadn't really heard much mention at all about who he had kind of talked to about the final table and stuff. And again, he made it pretty clear that he didn't go out and get hardcore coaching. But I mean, having Stevie 444 as sort of your coach for what is essentially a really big sit and go is a pretty good coach to have for a sit and go.
I mean, he might have some of the most experience of anyone there. I mean, just in terms of both live and online, a combination of the two.
Right.
I think experienced in that.
Right. I think Merson was a little more hyped up because he had obviously won a bracelet in a really tough event. I mean, the 10K 6 max, maybe the toughest event other than the big 50K mix or something. But yeah, in terms of just sheer volume and time playing,
he's a true grinder. Back in a couple of years ago. He was back before Black Friday. He was a true grinder.
Yeah.
One of those guys was, he said he made the TLB, right? He made the tournament leaderboard. You don't do that playing, once a week.
Sundays.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's like Sean Deeb volume.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So,
cool.
So yeah, definitely enjoyed having him on. So thanks again to Rob for wearing the patch and for coming on the show. He obviously has many things he could be doing, but it was nice of him to jump on the show with us.
Yep.
Cool. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on over at TPE.
Yeah, some good series running right now. Actually, by the time this airs, Big Dog series just ended, as did Jamie Kerstetter's premiere, which was well received. People really, really liked her series. It was a good one, so it's understandable. But it was good series just ended. You can see those on the site under videos, and we have a couple of new series coming. Ben Warrington is back for a hand history review of one of our members, and it's in a scoop or W Coop. I can never remember, one of the two. A 215 that the member makes the final table on, and I think Ben played with him deep as well. So he's
nice.
merging some of that, those hands into the hand history, and talking about his perspective on the play as well, being at the table with the guy. So
that'll be cool.
Yeah, that should be cool. And Ben's series are always good. I mean, he's consistently one of the highest rated pros, and he's got a new mic. So,
nice.
Yeah, he even says it in the kickoff of the new series. He's like, I got a new mic. I also have not placed the mic on my lips, because for some reason he had it so close to his mouth that every time he would breathe, they'd get feedback. But that's been all corrected. No more of that problem. High quality series, a long one. And if you like hand history reviews, this is going to be a good time for you, because we just got off of the two live sweats, the Jamie and the Big Dog, who Big Dog's was a Sunday Million Deep run, and Jamie's was a couple of mid-range tournaments. Ben is doing this member hand history review, and as is Chris Moon. Chris Moon is back with his second series for us. Also very highly regarded series. And talk about a Twitter that you should follow.
Yeah.
What's his Twitter account?
The Chris Moon.
The Chris Moon. Yeah, definitely follow Chris's Twitter account. He's an entertaining guy. Really funny. He's back with a member hand history review as well, for Doug's, who is one of the most prominent members of the site. And so we should have a couple of good series running, and then a couple more rolling in. It won't. I don't have the full series yet from the video producer, but we have a Hold'em manager expert coming on board, who's going to be doing a series for us. So look for that in a couple of weeks. And members,
I think that's going to be really good. We have a lot of members who ask different questions about him, and I am by no means an expert. So
no,
and I don't think Casey sometimes doesn't even use a HUD, so it's going to be nice to have somebody come in who can really answer those questions.
I like analytics. My day job is all about analytics, and so I'm looking forward to this and putting that to use. So that should be good. And we've got some, like I said, some great videos, and some other big news about the site is that we have a new podcast under the TPE podcast banner. You want to talk about? You want to chirp a little bit about our new podcast?
Yeah, chirp. This has been really cool. It's the new podcast is called The Chirp Herm Show, and you can find it if you just go over to Tournament Poker Edge and click on podcasts. You can select from the 3 different podcasts, this being one of them. And it's a really cool podcast. It's hosted by Mark Herm, a.k.a. Dipthrong, a.k.a. Chirp Herm. And it's a poker podcast, and I don't want to turn people off who just want to listen to a poker podcast, but it's a little bit of a different kind of poker podcast. It takes a little bit of a different angle, I think. Mark has had a pretty well documented rough couple of years over the last couple of years. So he kind of brings that into the show a little bit, and he talks to people about some of the challenges they're facing. But it's all poker players, and they do talk a ton of poker and strategy. So the very first episode is just him kind of introducing the show and letting people know what to expect. And then the second is Amanda Musumeci, who had a pretty well-publicized dispute with her boyfriend and actually was a little bruised up and things like that. So they talk in depth about that incident, but they also talk a ton about poker. And it's just been a really fascinating show, and people have loved it. It's gotten, rave reviews. I haven't seen a single person who hasn't liked
Fascinating is the right word. He's the kind of guy, he has the stories, he knows everyone, and he's just really good at talking about it. You mesmerized listening to it because it's real. It's not, this is a guy who went through a lot of stuff. He has a great view on life, and he doesn't sugarcoat anything that happened to him or that he's done. And if you want to know what, the poker, the elite poker crowd has done or been through, what it was like at the height of, U.S. poker and what was happening. These are the stories that you're getting, the stories directly from Mark, because he was right in the middle. His name online was Dipthrong, so everyone should, he's a legend online. He's won everything. I've seen people tweet that he is the single best poker mind in the world.
Right.
So he is a fantastic player and just a really engaging guy. And I could not stop listening to, I listened to both release shows so far, and it was really, really interesting. So
yeah, I think it's amazing, and I think it's going to only get better as he gets more comfortable. I mean, one of the cool things about it is that it's not a sleek produced show.
Right.
It's like Mark chatting with his buddies.
Yeah.
About life and poker and hitting record while he does it.
Yep.
And I think that comes off really well and makes for a very interesting podcast, because I don't think he plans anything. In fact, I'm sure he doesn't, because I've worked with him on the recording process. He's just like, there were days where he was like, oh, who's online? It looks like Paul G's is online. I think I'll call him and record a podcast.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, you go. So I think, I don't want to name a ton of names because I hate to disappoint people when they don't end up doing the show. But I expect to see a ton of really cool people on this in the coming weeks.
He knows everyone.
So, no doubt about it. So stay tuned. So again, it's the Sure Perm Show. Check it out over at tournamentpokeredge.com. You can find it there. And let us know what you think. And you can always also follow Dipthrong on Twitter. It's at Dipthrong. So that's DIPTHRONG. And he's been really active in responding to people's comments and stuff. And so if you have somebody you want to see on the show or you have a question for him, hit him up, and I know he'll respond. So
yep, go get that. It's good.
Cool stuff.
Good. All right. Well,
good. All right. Well, once again, thanks to Rob. I want to thank him one more time for coming in. That was awesome. And thanks to all of you guys out there for listening. And we hope to talk to you again soon on the next episode of the Tournament Poker Edge podcast. See you later.
Like they do in Texas, please. Fold them, let them hit me, raise it, baby, stay with me. Log in intuition, play the cards with babes to start. And after she's been hooked, I'll play the one that's on her heart. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I'll get her heart, show her what I got. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I'll get her heart, show her what I got. Carry by, though she can't read a mile, poker face. She's got to love nobody. Carry by, though she can't read a mile, poker face. She's got to love nobody. Poker face, poker face. Poker face, poker face. I wanna roll with her, a hard pair we will be. While little gambling is fun when you're with me. Russian roulette is not